Today I'm talking about why toxic people are drawn to lightworkers and empaths. So lightworkers are illuminators of darkness and empaths are natural healers. All lightworkers are empathic, compassionate, helpful, sensitive to other people's needs, etc. However, these qualities might be obscured by layers of unhealed trauma. I do want to add that sometimes people who are empaths and light workers can be misdiagnosed as having personality disorders, but I'm not really getting into that right now. The empath will act outside of their true nature due to PTSD, toxic stress, neurosis, ACE, meaning adverse childhood experiences, etc. However, once healed, the empath will come back to alignment to his or her true personality and soul orientation. Living with or surviving toxic people will cause maladaptation of the survival instinct. Due to this phenomena, people who are empaths by nature do learn and may participate in toxic behaviors such as cheating, gaslighting, violence, gossiping, deception, and so on. This happens for a time because they have lost contact with their true self. Before I get into this video, I do want to say thank you to all the subscribers. This channel cannot grow without you, so I appreciate you. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe and do press the like button. I don't know why I smile whenever I say press the like button. You'll notice I don't know why I smile when I say that. It's so weird. It's like I'm triggered to smile when I say press my button. Sorry. Oh dear God. So what I learned while studying integrative psychology is that we are all on the spectrum for all so-called mental disorders. It is how the mind functions. Okay, so sometimes what the medical field diagnose as a mental illness, sometimes certain things would not be diagnosed as a mental illness. Like I say, I can't really get into some things on here because it's not the space for it, and there isn't the time either, and it's not safe because of course I don't know who's listening, and some people are mentally ill and do need medication, and other people are sometimes misdiagnosed because of trauma. Things happen to us that cause maladaptation, malformation, or damage. So I will not be one of those people who make out that empaths are perfect and everyone else is evil. I do not promote hate or separation or any prejudice. The intention of this channel is to learn, to heal, and to evolve in the light. If we hate or render evil for evil, we will also become toxic, and we will only add to the negative that is already on the planet, and all the trauma that is already on the planet. And all the trauma and negativity is what is lowering our vibration, and it's stopping us from awakening properly, and it's stopping the ascension process. So it's counterproductive to hate people, and it's counterproductive even to fear. And so, but a lot of us are traumatized, and we are learning to overcome fear. I am learning even still to overcome a lot of spiritual trauma that I have experienced due to churchified indoctrination. I get spooked sometimes whenever there's a new spirit, a new energy coming in, especially these higher vibrational entities, because it's so very different, and it does scare me sometimes. So we have all got a lot of things that we're working that we're having to work through. So this is a quote from this book that I'm going through for the time being. I don't know how long I'm going to be doing this. I'll do it as long as I feel like it. And then when I don't feel like it anymore, I'll change. Okay, so it's called Meeting the Shadow, the Hidden Power of the Dark Side of Human Nature. And I did like this. So this is in the introduction where it says, how could there be so much evil in the world? And then the person answers and says, well, knowing humanity, I wonder why there isn't more of it. You know, so the more we understand the shadow, the more we'll understand, my Lord, you know, why we are not just the shadow. The more we're understanding our psyche, the more we will understand why we have so much darkness in the world. And if we continue to participate in the darkness, then we are creating even more of it. All right. And if we're, as light workers, if you're not healing and doing the work that you're supposed to do, then the darkness is perpetuating. But the very things that we are afraid of is the very things that we have to confront. So even though we are afraid, we have to be courageous enough to keep moving forward. It's not about us not being afraid. It's about us being courageous enough to keep moving forward and to keep healing. I used to be terrified, and I've just had to press on through. When I was told by my guide, one of my main guides, that I had to go through this blending process with him, I just cried and cried and cried because I'm terrified. I was terrified of him. And that's because of trauma. I've been with my guide since I was knowingly since I was 4 years old. So this is one of my main guides, and yet he terrifies the out of me. And that just goes to show how the splits in our psyche, and how a part of you could be absolutely terrified, and then there's a part of you that knows this entity so well, but because of this brainwashing and all the trauma that I've gone through, there is a part of me that still remains fearful. Nevertheless, I press on because we have no choice. In this video, for the sake of distinction only, I'll be using the term toxic people to describe those who are suffering from personality disorders, such as narcissistic personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, sadist, etc. So the ego personality of the toxic person is fire, okay? It is not the true fire, it is a false light, and therefore it's not self-sustaining. It needs fuel to burn, so it seeks resources outside of itself. This is a consuming masculine principle, the destructive aspect of the lower masculine. The toxic personality seems powerful on the surface, but this is a mask to hide their true state, which is one of lack. They are the consumers of other people's life, health, innocence, liberty, time, and resources. They crave an excess of everything, be it attention, money, pleasure, experiences. The ego personality of the emotional empath is the deep, chaotic waters of the feminine principle. This is also a false darkness in the form of a protective depression. The feminine energy introjects pain, suffering, and burdens that is not its own. It is self-destructive. In this state, it is self-destructive and can also hurt others because it becomes overwhelmed. The toxic person will project their vileness onto the empath. The empath in its naive state, does not know how to differentiate what belongs to self and what belongs to other, so the empath will readily introject and internalize the sickness that belongs to the abusive, toxic person. Okay. For example, when the toxic person cheats, he or she will gaslight the empath into believing that the empath is defective and that is why the narcissist has cheated, okay? Or the toxic person. However, because the empath is usually care orientated, they will often put up with abuse, which further causes the toxic person to become more ego inflated and therefore more abusive. On a soul level, this polarity is reversed. The soul of the empath is filled with beautiful colors and true light. The soul of the empath is strong and powerful, but remains dormant because it is too powerful for a weak ego to manage. The soul of the narcissist or sadist, psychopath, toxic person is black, or so it shows, because if we're seeing something clairvoyantly and it looks black, it doesn't mean that it is actually black. It just means that's how we're able to see things, okay? But it shows up as black and empty, devoid of colors, devoid of patterns or whatever. So and that's just, it's a way of teaching. So whenever, like for our guides, my guide teaching me or teaching somebody else, they show something, but it doesn't mean that's how it actually is. We have to be aware that we are seeing things the way we're capable of seeing it, just for our own knowledge, but it doesn't mean that this is exactly how things are. Okay. So I have just to make, I'd like to just be clear, because I don't want to add to any confusion. Right. So it's devoid of color and beauty. Shaman calls this soul sickness and attributes this state to the reason for mental health issues such as described, the sadist, narcissistic, psychopathic personality disorders. Okay. On a subconscious level, the person suffering from soul sickness recognize that the starseed, the lightworker, the empath are healers. So they seek to obtain healing, but their egotism and dysfunctional mind drives them to devour the very thing they seek. God, sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I hesitate to say certain things. This is why there is a lot of this is why there's a lot of child abuse, because children are filled with light. If you were able to see the light around children, especially when they are excited, and this excitement could be joy or fear. I don't know, I'm very emotional today. I'm probably just whatever energy is working with me today is making me very very emotional. Very emotional. So right. I want to read something from this this book here. Disowning the Shadow. And this is on the introduction. It says, we cannot look directly into the hidden domain. The shadow by nature is difficult to apprehend. It is dangerous, disorderly, and forever in hiding, as if the light of consciousness would steal its very life. Prolific Jungian analyst James Hillman says, The unconscious cannot be conscious. The moon has its dark side. The sun goes down and cannot shine everywhere at once. And even God has two hands. Attention and focus require something to be out of the field of vision to remain in the dark. One cannot look both ways. For this reason, we see the shadow mostly indirectly in distasteful traits and action of others, out there where it is safer to observe it. When we react intensely to a quality in an individual or group, such as laziness or stupidity, sensuality or spirituality, and our reaction overtakes us with great loathing or admiration, this may be our own shadow showing. We project by attributing this quality to the other person in an unconscious effort to banish it from ourselves, to keep ourselves from seeing it within. Jungian analyst Marie-Louise von Franz suggests that projection is like shooting a magic arrow. If the receiver have a soft spot to receive the projection, it sticks. If we project our anger onto a dissatisfied mate, our seductive charms onto a good-looking stranger, or our spiritual attributes onto a guru, we hit the target and the projection holds. From then on, the sender and receiver are linked in a mysterious alliance, like falling in love. Discovering a perfect hero or a perfect villain. So the personal shadow contains undeveloped, unexpressed potentials of all kinds. It is that part of the unconscious that is complementary to the ego and represents those characteristics that the conscious personality does not wish to acknowledge and therefore neglects, forgets, and buries, only to discover them in uncomfortable confrontation, only to discover them in uncomfortable confrontations with others. So we can't hide from our shadows, love. Can't hide from it. And this is why when we're doing this work, we don't want to be ussing and theming. We want to look at what's happening in the world, in the collective, and we also want to be looking at ourselves individually, because that's how we grow, that's how we learn, and that's how we integrate our shadow. Right, so I want to give a warning. We are not capable of apprehending 100% correct understanding or representation of God or the shadow. It says here about God having two hands. It's not literal, okay? It was just it's figurative. And we would be remiss to read any esoteric or psychological material and to take it literally, or to feel that you know the truth of nature or the psyche. We're forever learning. It's a journey of unfolding. And anytime we think we know is when we really do not know, as the Buddha says, and many others have said. We are not able to directly access the unconscious, but we can indirectly allow it to impress itself on us, just as we need a mirror to see our physical face. We need guides to help us navigate the treacherous terrain of the shadow realm. Lightworkers and empaths are prone to depression, and depression makes you weak. It makes you feel physically weak, and it drains your energy. And so we have to, if we want to be able to fulfill our mission, we have to face the trauma and the pain that it takes to overcome depression. We have to actually do the real work. We can't keep on evading it. Well, you can if you want to, but you'll just be in pain all your life. You can do whatever you want. But if you do, you will, be in pain, and you will not come into your power. And so it's important that we do the deep work. It's important that we do face our shadow. It's important that we face our fears. And it's important that we remain in love, and also to create strong boundaries with people who are destructive, dangerous, toxic, and but not hate. And boundaries means that if somebody does something illegal, you might have to get the law involved. Okay. Boundaries mean that if somebody's dangerous to your person, that you might have to remove yourself. All of these different things that we do. But it doesn't mean on a whim, like how we've seen people are rejecting people willy-nilly, that people are no longer forming relationships because relationships are hard, and we're all toxic, okay, to a level, or we all can be toxic to a level if we are not working on our own toxicity, okay? Unless you are healed, unless you are aware and awakened, and the fact is, if you reject somebody because they have got some difficulties, that is toxic. Maybe you don't realize it. And I'm talking about rejecting somebody who isn't dangerous to you just because they might do little things. This is very hard to get into, actually, because it depends on the situation. But if you sometimes you might fall for certain tactics that are being done, where people are encouraging people to reject their friends, reject family members. Rejection is actually one of the worst things that you can do to a human being. So you might be manipulated into toxic behaviors yourself if you're not careful. And that's what I mean by all of us can be toxic. If you're not aware of your behaviors and what you're doing and how your behaviors might harm you, then you can fall prey to certain things. And there is an article that I do want to talk about at some point, where they're showing in the article, it's a scientific article, where they have done a lot of research to show what happens to people who reject their friends. It's the person who's rejecting their friend who suffers. So this thing it's very, very, very important to understand the darkness and the levels of deception that we're dealing with, and the levels of toxic and manipulative and coercive behaviors that we're dealing with. I am going to share as much as I can so that we are not coerced and manipulated into actually acting out toxic, narcissistic, psychopathic, sadistic behaviors ourselves unwittingly, and therefore harm others and harm ourselves in the process. And I think I will leave it there. Do leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of this video. And do press the like button. Do tap the bell so that you'll be notified whenever I've uploaded a new video. I usually upload videos on a Thursday evening around 6 o'clock UK time, or on a Friday. So until next time, love.